as a lesbian. It's just...
I think they referred to Autostraddle at one point.
They do, yeah. When the teenage daughter comes out and her mom is trying very hard to sound like she's supportive, she's like, I read Autostraddle last night. What she says in this episode is that she found out that lesbians wear monocles, and that Eleanor Roosevelt was big into monocles, and we were so excited, but then we were like, we don't have anything about Eleanor Roosevelt monocles on our website, so we had to have somebody write a post. So when somebody Googled it, they could find our website.
That's amazing. Yeah, I did appreciate that. But I just want to bring it back a little bit. We were talking, you said briefly, Elizabeth, about intent matter versus impact, and how impact matters for most of the time more than the intent. Can you talk about that a little bit more in depth?
Well, yeah, like I said, his apology tour where he talks about, you know, yeah, I didn't, what I meant or whatever. I mean, this is something that a lot of people, you know, they look to the person who authored a book or is the showrunner to have an opinion about their own work. And there's this concept, and I'm going to go back to literary studies because that's my deal. And so there's this concept called the death of the author, and it came along in the 1960s and 70s by this literary critic named Roland Barthes, and he talks about this idea of, and he was trying to fight back against biographical criticism, whatever, that's boring, never mind. And so, but this idea that the opinion that an author has after releasing the work to the public is irrelevant, because it's just another opinion. And what really matters is the response of the reader, or the response of the viewer, as the case may be, because that is where the interaction takes place. That's where this dialogue takes place. That's what it was meant for viewers. It was meant for readers. It doesn't matter. You know, kind of like we go back to J.K. Rowling talking about Dumbledore being gay or whatever, and it's like, that's great. Where is it in the text? That's just your opinion. That's your interpretation. That's just another interpretation. I mean, you can interpret it, but
Sure. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no, you're right. And the thing that's made that infinitely worse is Twitter, where now a writer can just immediately go to Twitter right after and be like, well, what I meant was, and you're like, hey, but guess what I saw on my television? And that was another lesbian getting shot with a stray bullet.
Well, if we think about this in the context of, because I'm a linguist, verbal communication. If you have an argument with, you know, your partner, and they say something hurtful, and you say, that hurt my feelings, and they say, yeah, but what I meant was, everyone knows that what you will say is like, I understand that, and it was still hurtful.
It happened to me this morning, actually.
Like, I can understand.
It was horrible. I really didn't mean how it came out, but it didn't matter. I was in the doghouse no matter what.
Oh, and first thing in the morning, too.
Yeah, impact totally crushes intent every time. There's only so many times you can say you're sorry. If you don't learn your lesson, you're not going to get to say anything, so.
Right, I mean, just really the point of this panel, right?
That's
right,
it's
right. Right, that like, at some level, like, okay, I can acknowledge that you didn't mean it the way I heard it, but like, that this was how I heard it, whether you meant it that way or not. And what I want from you is to say, I am so sorry, I will do better next time.
I'm writing it down.
And I'm not talking to you, like, but like, what we like from showrunners who do that, like the reaction is not, well, let me explain to you why you should not have felt that way.
And the other problem is that of the people who are watching your show, maybe like 0.5% are watching you on Twitter. So the cultural impact is there regardless of whether or not you apologize, because now it's out in the wide world for people who are not following a fandom conversation, and all they're seeing is more dead queer characters. And they're not hearing a showrunner. Like, if you asked an average viewer about like any writer's apology tour, they'd be like, who are you talking about? What are you talking about? It's like the cultural impact goes so far beyond fandom, and that's the impact that really matters in a broader scheme, because that's the impact of the people who are making the legislation that is then coming back to like impact us.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's a lesson for all of us, especially creators who have more control than I do in just my everyday life. So in the digital age, what we're speaking on is that fans do have more access to creators. It's direct to what you're saying about Twitter. So with that being said, how does that impact how stories are received when they are courting certain audiences?
Well, I mean, the fact that this exists is like, the fact that Clexicon exists is a perfect example of the beauty of social media and being able to come together over a television show. And I think there's so many people who came together, specifically with Lexa's death. You've probably made friends that you would never have met otherwise because you were all coming together to mourn this thing and then using that collective power to create something like this and to raise so much money for the Trevor Project and to push back and push into mainstream media. To me, the most remarkable thing to come out of Lexa's death was the fact that places like Entertainment Weekly and Hollywood Reporter and Variety started paying attention and writing about this thing and interviewing queer people and calling it out as a problem. Because when my grandmother can be like, I was reading like a lot of gay people get buried on television. I'm like, where did you read that? USA Today, you know? And I've been writing about it for 10 years. 10 years I've been posting Facebook statuses about gay people, but she sees it in USA Today and she's like, I heard gay people die on television. Like that, you know, that really matters. Pushing it out really matters. And, you know.
I think that's kind of a theme of this whole weekend that we should all really kind of take a moment to appreciate is the fact that what happened over Lexa's death and then the subsequent other deaths that happened after that and fan responses to that, this is unprecedented. I've been observing fandom and queer culture and all those sorts of things for the last 20 years, some of it in an intellectual capacity, some of it in a personal capacity. I've never seen anything like this, and I've followed this stuff pretty closely and published on it and researched it and all that sort of thing. And the kind of surprisingly well-coordinated response that happened as a result of this, and the fact that we're all here today is just kind of mind-boggling. Like, I've had a really hard time processing even what's happening here since I got here last night, just because it's so incredible.
Right.
And it's so unbelievable, the fact that we were able to pull all this together and make all this happen.
Well,
and the fact that we got so many mainstream media responses. I mean, did anybody catch the fact that the UN tweeted the GLAAD report, which probably got the response that it did because of all of us?
Yeah, I mean, the GLAAD report, like, GLAAD never singles out lesbians, and I've been following that GLAAD report a long time. It never singles out lesbians. So the fact that GLAAD had, felt a really specific need to headline with that this year was a big deal. But
And whose picture was on all those headlines?
the one thing I wanted to say was, we're talking about changing things in the digital age, and I think what is I think it's really important to point out that the real change maker for digital activism is the Black Lives Matter movement. And when I was watching the response to Lexa and I was watching LGBT Fans Deserve Better, I was like, this is like the Black Lives Matter movement laid the foundation and showed exactly the way to organize and to make your voice heard, and this movement went right into that groove. And the same thing is true right now as Mayroot is our trans editor here from Autostraddle, and unfortunately, very often these days, having to write obituaries for murdered trans women. And it is the trans women, specifically trans women of color and Black trans women on Twitter, creating an activist community to find the information about these murdered trans women that would have slipped through the cracks, right? Twitter and digital media changes that because it gives us a platform. And I just want to specifically say that about Black Lives Matter because I think that for all the million wonderful things they did, they also modeled social media activism for us.
Right, yeah, they provided a framework that the people responding to Lexa's death was able to say, oh, I've seen this done.
Right.
Like, I know, and that's why it felt so well organized, is because the groundwork had been laid for how you do this, how you do social media activism, that they could, in some sense, it felt almost instinctual, that they were like, oh, I know what to do now. I know what to do now because I've seen that done before.
Yeah. All grassroots liberal activism that comes after that, you can see modeled very clearly after the Black Lives Matter movement.
So what would you say what needs to happen in addition to active fans holding storytellers accountable and obviously media holding just the community and society accountable? Like, how else are there ways that we can be active?
Well, I think, one of the other ways is we create content for ourselves. Is we don't just say, hey, you need to write our stories better. We say, we also need to write our own stories ourselves and find a place for that. And that, I think, really is the spot where we're at right now. Is like I feel like, maybe other people disagree, we've done what we can to make this issue open talked about. And now we also need to say, it's not just about holding you accountable. It's about me saying, all right, well, because they will get the inevitable question from people who are not part of our community. Well, but how do I do that? What do you mean? How do I do that? What does this look like? And so I think one of the big steps now is for us to say, here is how you do that. One of those things is having people on your writer's room. For all of anyone of any age here, like, space now exists that I think didn't exist a couple years ago. Or I would say probably even a year and a half ago. There is more, because we gave ourselves a voice, there is more space. There are more people who are willing to talk about the fact that we need better stories for ourselves. And there are avenues opening up for that to happen in more of a mainstream way. And so what we can do is to then do that. Is to say, you know what, I was terrified of writing that novel. I was terrified of doing that web series. I didn't think anyone would listen. I thought no one would care. But you know what? We will. Because we now know that all of us want this, that all of us need this. That you will have an audience for whatever content you want to create.
Yeah, like May, again, I'm just going to comment. At the end of the last panel that she just did on trans rep, she said the best thing that you can do if you want to see good trans rep is give money to trans women. Right? Where you want to see that representation, find the people that are making it, and then find the people who are providing a platform for it, and then find the people who are providing the recaps and criticism for it in a way that feels authentic to you, and give them your money. Because in this, as the media landscape changes, everybody's moving to a subscription model. Everybody's moving to independent subscribers for things. So if you want to see it, like, if you want one day at a time, subscribe to Netflix and then tweet at Netflix like, I subscribe because I love one day at a time.
Right, like the better we understand, I think this is a way that we can use like a capitalist system to work for us. Because the way that, the way that media is created is content creators or like people in charge of it don't want to throw money at something that won't get an audience. So if we put our money where we want things to exist, then they will have the impetus to then say, oh, right, like, you can prove to me that you have X number of followers, that you have X number of people willing to invest, and so yes, we will give you that deal because we know that we will be able to make money out of it. It sucks, I hate it, but like, we can use this to our advantage.
Is like the ultimate irony of Lexa's death is that the creative team knew that having queer people watch their show would make a huge difference in the ratings.
We are social cachet.
We are. Right, so if you know that writing a queer character that queer women love and then convincing them to watch your show makes such a difference that you can get your show renewed, what is the logic that makes you go, you know what I'm going to do, I'm going to kill her? Like, killing her is definitely the best way to maintain what is obviously like a lucrative opportunity.
I will say that still one of my favorite images ever of the internet is the graph that shows the Twitter followers. Like, I will admit, if I'm ever feeling sad, I'll be like,
I didn't believe that. When I saw that, I didn't believe it. I was like, this is a photo manipulation. There's no way that this is for real. But it mattered.
It happened over one weekend, right? Yeah.
And the other thing about like, you were just saying that TV shows are created to make money, right? And TV shows are created to sell ad revenue. And the way that works now is that when a network is pitching to a company, they are not just saying we have X number of viewers, they're saying we have X number of viewers and X number of live watchers, and we know because we've trended on Twitter 15 weeks in a row. So the more people you have following you on Twitter and tweeting about you live, the more you can sell your ad space for, and the longer your show is going to stay on television. So
those are all really good suggestions, so thank you guys. Before we go to question and answer, just while we have your attention, I want everyone on the panel to just say that where people can follow you and support the work that you're doing. So if we can just go down the line and say where you're digitally located, that would be great.
I'm at spashly.angelfire. No, I'm just kidding. Autostraddle.com.
I currently write for the Fandomentals. It's fandom plus mental, thefandomentals.com. I also have a personal website, which is gnellis.com.
I'm on Twitter at EGBridges, and I also have a personal/professional website that's uncannyvalley.us.
It's really good. Actually, when I was doing my reviews of The 100 last year, I would read some of her articles, and then when I found out she was on a panel with me, I was like, oh my god.
out to Mo Ryan right now for quoting
Yes.
me in her article, because that's the reason I'm here right now.
Awesome. Yeah, no, storytelling is definitely something that's important to me, even though my medium is very different from all of you. So I really appreciate hearing your perspectives. I'm Charlotte Glasser. You can follow me on Instagram, CB Glasser, and again, Hot Rabbit New York if you're interested in getting down with the queers at a party. So, okay, moving on.
Wait. Is Mo Ryan in this room?
Yes.
Hey.
And Mo Ryan. You guys.
So we only have about 10 minutes left. Thanks for joining us, Ryan. Appreciate it. We got 10 minutes, so I just want to open up for some question and answers. If you could raise your hand, I'll call on you, and we'll get some panelists to give you some insight on what you want to know. So right here in the front.